Hello, today I'm just a head and maybe an arm, just for good measure. Today I'm reviewing J'adore from a different angle. I thought because I got this nice kind of presentation-y thing that I might switch it up and do a bit of product placement for once in my life, rather than just coming up to the camera and going, look at this. So today I'm reviewing J'adore by Christian Dior, none other than. This one's probably going to be a bit of a tough one for me, and I'm not sure why. Well, I am sure why, but I won't go into it too much. It's just a bit of a funny one. So this is a floral fragrance, came out in 1999, hugely famous, and unfortunately has gone through a reformulation. A lot of what I've been reading, a lot of people really aren't happy with how it is now. I don't have the other one to compare. I wish this was the vintage one sitting in here, but it isn't. So I've got to make do with what I've got. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Or you buy J'adore. So 1999, my favourite decade of fragrances, the 90s. I was obsessed with the advert of this, the one where Charlize Theron pulls off the beads and walks down into that grand room with that amazing dress on. That dress is just kick-ass, I think it's amazing. And yeah, it's really good. I've always wanted it in my collection and I finally got it, but unfortunately, if you speak to some people that are kind of die-hard fans of this, it's a shadow of its former self, and some of the notes have even changed. Which brings me on to the notes. The notes seem to be evading me. Wherever I look, I read something different. So I'm just going to read you what I found. Fragrantica has about 50 notes on it. The site only has 3, the Dior site only has 3 notes. It tells you 1 note from each part of the pyramid, and a few blogs and stuff I've read have the, I think, original notes. So I'm just going to give you a few bits and pieces, but don't hold me to them. Don't string me up. So I'll read you first as well what it says. There was 2 perfumers that made this. One of them was Françoise Demachy, and her little piece about this is her words. It says, the simplicity often hides in extreme sophistication. J'adore is a perfect harmony between former and modern perfumery. The most beautiful essences and natural flower absolutes in a modern writing. No matter how magical it is, J'adore is above all an art of raw material. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree. Whenever I've smelled it on people though, it's always been really nice. It's kind of gorgeous. So the notes, there's no pyramid going on here because I don't really know, but I've read a few different things. So the notes are mandarin in the top, champaca flowers, ivy leaf, which I think is really cool, African orchid, rose, I think it's damask rose, it says on the Dior website, violet, Damascus plum, amaranth wood, which is such a lovely word, amaranth, it sounds like an elf from Lord of the Rings or something, and blackberry musk, interesting. Amaranth is actually kind of like a little shrubby plant thing. It's called a lot of different names, it's got loads of names, but this is the wood from the shrub anyway. On the Dior website it says that it's got sambac jasmine in it, ylang-ylang, which isn't mentioned anywhere else that I've seen, and damask rose. Maybe the new formulation has ylang-ylang in it, I don't know. But anyway, let me show you the pretty stuff. So I got this box recently, and I think, just as a little side note, and somebody correct me underneath if I'm wrong, I think the way to tell the new formulation from the old is this little gold disc thing that appears on the packaging now. I don't know. If I'm wrong, then you can shoot me. So anyway, it's so pretty! It's lovely! I've always loved the bottle, I think it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of those African tribes when they stretch their necks up. Yeah, and it came with this really cool little thing. It was a 7.5mm little Travelo thing that came with it. Which is really heavy. It's kind of heavy metal, and it's got, you can unscrew the bottom of it like this, and it's got a vacuum in it, so when you want to refill it, you just hold it on top of your sprayer and it just refills it. So off you go out, you know, in your gold dress, and you go and go clubbing or whatever it is you do of an evening. So yeah, the bottle, I mean, if you haven't seen it before, I mean, this is hugely famous. I'm probably teaching grandmothers to suck eggs here, but it's just stunning anyway. It's not when it's like that. It just looks like an egg. I think it's all about the lid, this one. big gold glamorous affair. The advert's really gold, the perfume's really gold. I think they were kind of going for a very modern, classic kind of thing here. So let me just spray it on me. I've been wearing it quite a lot recently. Sprays out a lot, as most Dior sprays do. I don't know if you know, but they spray out a heavy amount of perfume, which is good. So this, I will say for the first thing, I will say that it is one of the most linear fragrances I own. It doesn't really develop over time for me. It kind of just stays how it is, no complications, but it just basically calms down a little bit, which is what you would expect. The first blast is always the whooshy one. So yeah, the opening of it, it's kind of fruity in a weird way. It's obviously a floral perfume, but there is some sort of fruity element I detect here. And if I'm going to pin it down on anything, I would say it's probably pear-y-like. You know, that kind of sharp, sweet kind of pear. Well, that's what I get from it anyway. But obviously you have this jasmine and this really kind of high-pitched, almost screechy floral. I can see that this would probably be a love or hate fragrance if you're not into florals. It's very high-pitched and verging on being sharp, but there is something sweet about it as well. There is also what I would describe as something just touching on powdery in there, but it's still sharp. Not everything that's got a powdery note or a powdery tone has to be soft. There is a powdery note in this. When it's on your skin, you can definitely smell, it's kind of there in the background, just like a tinge of powder, but it's not an overly powdery fragrance. It's almost kind of citrusy, peary kind of in the opening. And when it starts to dry a little bit, I do get, which is going to sound weird, but I always say weird things in my reviews, I get something that's almost kind of like a buttery, creamy feel from it, which from my guessing would probably be the ivy leaf. If it's anything like fig leaf, it has that kind of weirdy, buttery kind of feel, but that's only a tinge as well. What it's mainly about is a very sharp whoosh of kind of jasmine and this kind of peary feel with a bit of powderiness. It's ultra feminine. I think it's really classy, although because it's probably been worn to death by a lot of people, people might be sick of it now, but it's new to me, so I'm still loving it for now. I'm sure I'll be sick of it soon. Let's just spray a bit more on for good measure. Look, can you see that? Even this sprays out a lot. Ooh, my table's going to smell lovely now. So, yeah, there's not much to say about the development, because as I said, it doesn't really develop too much. Over time, the peary kindness goes away from it, and you are left with a much more kind of sharp floral element. It does go a tiny bit more powdery, but it doesn't really change its character at all. And I always say, that's nice sometimes. You like something to smell how it smells when you first spray it, so there's no surprises. So you kind of get what you get with this one, I think. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. I have read a lot about the reformulation and how it doesn't really last. I understand the original formulation was a beast. But this one, I put it on at 7:30, and at 3 o'clock I could still smell it. Obviously it was only projecting a little bit. I had to smell my wrist quite a bit. But it's one of those ones that does gently waft a little bit. So people are going to smell it if you walk near them or walk past them. It's just not as jarring when it's dried, because it could verge on being a bit jarring, like I said, or screechy. So that's really that. Yeah, like I said, at 3 o'clock it was still going strong, and then I reapplied anyway. So I'm not really sure about the ins and outs. I did say it's going to be quite a difficult review, but that's kind of what you're going to get. It's mainly based around jasmine and something a little bit powdery, like I said, and it's kind of ultra feminine. It's a really feminine, high-pitched kind of floral fragrance, and it's quite hard to describe. So I did say I'm just going to draw an 8 in the mist that I've made there. Not sure why. Maybe it's the length of this video when I turn it off. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Well, that's 110. Click my logo to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon for another review. J'adore you all. J'adore you all.